What's up, people? It's James. I am back to do another card breakdown. Just because we didn't have UFC on, or we don't have UFC on this weekend, doesn't mean I'm not going to break down a card. We've got Bellator 255, so that's what I'll be breaking down. I'm only going to break down the main card of it, but the main card's pretty solid, so I'm sure you'll get a couple of jewels. I'll be going over the betting lines on the card. I'll be talking about who I think's going to win, regardless of the betting line, and we'll see if there's any value on the betting line. I think there is quite a lot of value on this card. I know Bellator cards are usually riddled with huge favorites, and there's no different here. You know, we've got more than one plus minus 1,000 favorite on this card, which is pretty hilarious. You know, the biggest favorite you see on UFC cards, week to week is usually about a minus 400. Every now and then we'll get like a minus 600-700 on there. But, Bellator, we regularly see minus 900, minus 800 favorites. And we have seen that through this whole card coming up. Bellator 255 on the weekend. But I still think there's some value. I have 4 bets currently locked in on this card. And I haven't even taped the whole card yet. So there's a couple fights left I still want to tape. So I'm predicting to have around about 5 bets on this card. And as always, if you did want my bets, you can go to lucrativemmabetting.com. I'm third-party tracked on betmma.tips, so I cannot fake my record. You can sign up for multiple membership packages there and earn money with me. But right now, we'll just get straight into the card and we'll break down the first fight on the main card, which is a rematch. It's Tyrell Fortune versus Jack May. And, I was just talking about this, lots of favorites on this card. And, we kick off the main card with a huge favorite. I think Tyrell Fortune is sitting at about a minus 700 favorite at the moment. And yeah, as I said, this is a rematch. So these guys fought a couple of years back now, and it only went one round, or half of that one round, because basically Tyrell Fortune kneed Jack May in the balls, and Jack May couldn't continue, and the fight was called off. And I believe it was called a no contest. But in the 1 or 2 minutes we did see of that fight, we did see Tyrell Fortune have his way with Jack May on the feet. In the wrestling. On the feet, it was, was pretty close. Jack May hit Tyrell Fortune with a couple of good leg kicks, but it didn't stay on the feet for long. It was on the feet for no more than 30 seconds of the whole fight, right? Of the whole first round or half the round, whatever it was. Tyrell Fortune was able to get Jack May down pretty much with ease. And, he was controlling him on the ground. I will say, though, that Jack May did well to get back up to his feet. He found himself in a position where his feet was against the cage. He pushed off the cage, was able to bridge, roll out scramble Tyrell Fortune, or just be a little bit quicker to his feet. And, he got it on the feet again. But Tyrell Fortune quickly realized that, I can dominate this guy with the wrestling. Obviously, Tyrell Fortune is probably one of the best wrestlers on paper in the whole of MMA, let alone Bellator. And yeah, Tyrell Fortune realized that, I can dominate this guy with my wrestling on the mat in the grappling exchanges. So even though they did get back to the feet, Tyrell Fortune pushed Jack May up against the cage, and that is when the illegal knee occurred. So, from what we saw, we can take away from that fight, not much, but what we can take away is that Tyrell Fortune can dominate the 11-7 Jack May in the grappling, which we all really knew because of Tyrell Fortune's wrestling accolades. And then I guess we can't really say too much about the stand-up because it didn't really go there. So, Tyrell Fortune's path to victory is super, super easy here. All he needs to do is take the fight to the ground, and he's going to win this fight, I will say, though, that he's fallen in love with his striking in the last few years, and that did get him brutally knocked out 2 fights ago against the surgeon, or the resurgent, I should say, Timothy Johnson. So, he can be knocked out. This is heavyweight, so there is a lot of volatility in heavyweight fights, as you know. Minus 700, I don't want to say it's too wide, because I just feel like, if this was a lighter weight class, I probably would say this is spot on. Maybe it's a little wide just because it's heavyweight, and Jack May's obviously got a chance to land a bomb on the feet. But Jack May is 11-7, guys. He's nearly a 50-50 fighter. He's 39 years of age, 11 months and 2 weeks. So by the time this fight comes, he will have 1 week, right, until he turns 40 years of age. So the dude's 40. He's coming up against a 30-year-old Tyrell Fortune, 10 years in difference, and the skill gap in the grappling is hilarious. And Tyrell Fortune is 9-1. He's only got that one loss against Timothy Johnson. So, I believe that Tyrell Fortune's going to do what he would have done a few years ago if the fight would have went 3 rounds, or if Tyrell Fortune would have, got a stoppage, which is definitely live to. I feel like unless Tyrell Fortune continues this falling in love with the striking, which he may do, because even after the Timothy Johnson fight, he did come back and get a win. I can't remember who it was against now, but when I watched that fight, I was expecting him to take the fight to the ground a lot more because he just got knocked out in his previous fight, but he didn't take that fight to the ground a lot. He may have done a couple of times, but that fight was mostly on the feet. So he hasn't really learned from getting knocked out against Timothy Johnson. And, I guess when you've been wrestling for as long as Tyrell Fortune and done the things in wrestling he has done, you probably just get bored of wrestling, man. When you go to MMA, you want to, you want to work on your striking. And Tyrell Fortune's a strong, powerful dude. He's a, 250-pound heavyweight. So he's definitely got knockout power. And he's got a few knockouts on his record, a few standing knockouts. So he's probably fallen in love with that a bit. Look, I still give him the advantage on the feet. And the advantage in the grappling is hilarious. So even if he does keep it on the feet for a little while and mixing takedowns every now and then, he'll probably still be able to, he will still be able to win this fight. And, he could even knock Jack May out on the feet. Jack May's been knocked out before. And I think he can knock him out from, a dominant grappling position. So Tyrell Fortune all day here. Minus 700 is, man, probably about right, to be honest, man. This dude's probably going to win this fight 85% of the time or something like that. So I'll move on to the next fight. But I will say hello to the chat. Anybody in the chat, please hit me up. Jackson Given, what is up? Bellator, Chalk City. Yeah, we know that, but we're still going to find a couple of jewels, and I think we have. Z's MMA, shout out to Z. So far, I've got small bets on Sanchez and Jackson. Stoked to hear my take on the card. Yes, well, we'll be getting into them very shortly. So the next fight is Khabib's brother or cousin or one of the two. I never know. And you guys in the chat might know, but I never know if like Usman Nurmagomedov is his brother, Abu Bakr Nurmagomedov is his brother, or is his cousin, or like, man, I don't really know. But I think Usman is his brother, like actual blood brother. And I think Abu Bakr is too. I think they're all actually brothers. And Usman, he's probably the better. I mean, he definitely is the better, or he looks the better of the two brothers in Abu Bakr and Usman. So, yeah. Usman Nurmagomedov, 11-0, minus 700 favorites. So, the same as Tyrell Fortune. But I know that actually this guy's like a minus 1,000 favorite now. I know Tapology here says he's minus 675, but obviously Tapology doesn't update as quick as the betting lines update or get bet on. So, yeah, Usman's about a minus 1,000 favorite here. This line's off, guys. I will say this line's off. I didn't say the minus 650, minus 700 on Tyrell Fortune was technically off, although it's definitely huge. But I will say that this Usman Nurmagomedov line is off because he's probably fighting the best fighter he's ever fought in Mike Hamill here. I know it doesn't look like it on paper. Mike Hamill, 7-4, plus 500 underdog, trading wins and losses in his last 6 fights or his last 5 fights. But I'm half impressed with what I see on Mike Hamill on tape. So he fought Adam Borix in his last fight with Bellator. And, most of you will know Adam Borix now. He's a pretty well-hyped prospect in Bellator. I believe he was the one who got that. Yeah, he was. He got that flying knee win over Aaron Pico. He's got a couple of other decent wins now. I think Borix has only got like 1 or 2 losses. So he's a pretty solid prospect. And look, Mike Hamill put it on him, and he only lost a split decision. He took him down consistently, regularly throughout the whole 3 rounds. He came in on extremely short notice, Mike Hamill did, for that fight against the Bellator prospect, Adam Borix. He came in on like 2 or 3 days notice, and he was able to go 3 hard rounds. And the reason is because he's a wrestler. They've got that grinding cardio, that grinding pressure. They can go for 3 rounds. Mike Hamill probably could have gone 5 rounds that day. You can see He's a wrestler. He's got his singlet on here. And yeah, look, he's a decent fighter, man. He will take the fight to the ground. And even on the feet, he's not terrible. He was getting caught with some shots by Adam Borics, of course. But he was able to keep it on the floor for a lot of the fight. And even when he was on the feet, it wasn't completely outclassed. Now, Adam Borics is a solid striker. I mentioned he got that flying knee knockout over Aaron Pico. And, he's shown off his striking he's an out-and-out striker, Adam Borics, basically. He's shown off his striking in Bellator a hell of a lot, and I'm impressed with his striking. So Mike Hamill, he didn't get completely blown out on the feet by him, although he was a clear level below, or a couple of levels below the striking. But, I've seen Mike Hamill do quite a lot of... I've seen him get knockouts on the feet. I've seen him hurt people on the feet. And, a couple of his losses are a bit dodgy. So, against that, I'll just go into I'll bring up his record here now. And I know we're speaking a lot about Mike Hamill, but I do want to give the guy... I do want to do the guy justice. I do want to do his skill set justice. And I want to give him some props here because I just don't believe he should be this big of an underdog against someone like Nurmagomedov, regardless of who I'm picking to win the fight. So if we go over Mike Hamill's record here, we see that he lost to Adam Borics, split decision. There's nothing wrong in that. We see he lost to Bruno Souza here. Now, I don't believe I could get this fight, so I couldn't watch the fight, right? But the loss against Jordan Winsky here, he lost in the first round via armbar, right? 4 minutes into the round, but he was dominating Jordan Winsky, right? And Jordan Winsky was 8-1 at the time. So, he was hurting Jordan on the feet. He was putting a lot of pressure onto him. I can't remember how they went down to the ground. He may have hurt him and then jumped on top of him, but the fight ended up on the ground, right? And I remember Mike Hamill, Matt Hamill. No, not Matt Hamill. It was Mike Hamill. He was pummeling Jordan Winsky, right, from top position. And then he just got caught in an armbar, right? And he tapped pretty quickly. It was a tight armbar. He had good extension on it, did Jordan Winsky. And he was able to tap Mike Hamill. So even in that fight, that fight seemed like Mike Hamill was definitely going to win that fight, right? And then he's got one more loss here. He got knocked out in 30 seconds, which obviously isn't a good look. But, man, them knockouts that come in 30 seconds, 1 minute, you can't take too much away from them. Just go back to Alexander Hernandez versus Beneil Dariush. Shit like that happens all the time. Fighters get knocked out within the first couple minutes of a fight. There's something about the first couple minutes of a fight, right? I don't know what it is, but maybe your body isn't, I guess not used to, but it's not primed to take punishment yet. Because obviously backstage, they don't really spar because they don't want to get injured. They mainly just hit pads. So maybe it's something about your body taking that first blow where you can't withstand it as much as you can, later on in the rounds, or if you've been hit a few times. We go back to Cowboy Cerrone, a lot of his fights. He'll get knocked out in the first round by quite a few guys, right? Rafael dos Anjos, Darren Till, Conor McGregor. But then he'll get hurt badly in the first round in other fights and then able to weather the storm. And then he can go 3 hard rounds getting hurt, like Leon Edwards. When he fought Leon Edwards, he went 5 hard rounds and he took a lot of punishment in that fight. But he didn't get stopped, right? If you come through that first round, you can often take a lot more damaging blows than would have knocked you out in the first round if you didn't come through it. I hope that makes sense. There's something about that first couple of minutes, right, that people just get stopped in. So I don't take too much from that when I do see a guy get knocked out in a minute or two. But at the same time, you have to factor it in, especially if he's going out with a guy who's stopping guys in the first round, like Usman is. But the level of competition is, it's a little bit of a cause for concern. But yeah, look, I like Mike Hamill's skill set, grinding, wrestling pressure. And at the end of the day, no matter who this fight, I do not expect Mike to go down without a fight unless he gets knocked out in like 30 seconds or something like that, or Usman can wrap up one of his arms, which isn't out of the question because Usman is a high-level fighter. I do believe that. His striking is pretty solid. Actually, he's more of a striker than a grappler. Now, I will say that the fights I've seen, he's implemented his striking more, but a couple of times he's got the fight to the ground and he's looked quite dominant on the ground. So I do know, obviously, being a brother of Khabib, coming from Dagestan, and what I've seen of him, his grappling does look pretty dominant, but it seems like he wants to keep the fight on the feet for most of what I saw. But I do expect that's a lot of times because the level of competition he's facing is just not on his level. When he comes up against a fighter, Usman, that is, I guess on his level or better than him in his striking, which he will do because he's not an elite striker, I'm sure then he'll go to his wrestling, and he may even turn into more of a wrestler as the years go on, as the level of competition step up. But for now, what I've seen of him, we can only go on what we've seen. He's a solid striker, man. He's got a very beautiful front teep kick, so he's got a very good push kick. He actually aims the push kick real high. You know, a lot of people, when they do the push kick or the teep or whatever you want to call it, a snap kick, a lot of people throw it differently, right? But most people throw it to the gut. He will throw it to the gut, but I've seen him multiple times throw it up here to like the collarbone, the chest area, which is dangerous. It's a fucking dangerous movement, right? Because a lot of times, you know, if it's up there, it's liable to hit you in the face anyway. I mean, it's high. And then also, it can be real damaging to get hit in this part of the body. People don't really do it in MMA. I mean, but I do know someone called Chris who trained at one of the gyms I trained at back in the UK. And he broke somebody's... What's the chest bone called? This is pretty embarrassing. I'm forgetting what the chest bone is called. This big bone here. Damn. And anyway, he broke someone's that chest. God, man, I sound so stupid. What is the chest bone? Not the collarbone. Come on, guys, hit me up in the chat. Don't keep me looking so stupid like this. God. The sternum. God damn, man. Yeah. So I know some dude called Chris. He broke someone's sternum, right? Which is basically the chest bone. It's behind your chest. Dustin Chaffee, yeah, man. You're too late. You made me look stupid for like the last 5 minutes. No, I'm joking. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, it's sternum. So yeah, I know some dude who broke someone's sternum, and I mean, like, it's a fucking dangerous move. If you can hit spinning back kicks to the body like that, I know Joe Rogan speaks about it a lot, hitting spinning back kicks to the body, not only the stomach but upper. But anyway, Usman throws that shot to the upper body as well as the lower body. So that's something I don't see from too many people. So, you know, he's a good striker, guys. He's got very solid calf kicks. He virtually stopped someone with calf kicks in either his last fight or previous fight. He didn't actually get the stoppage via calf kicks. It wasn't listed at that, but it was basically a stoppage via calf kicks. You know, the guy flopped to his back because he was getting kicked in the calf too much, and then Usman was able to get the ground and pound finish. So he's a good striker, and he's obviously got the wrestling in his back pocket. Now, how I see this fight breaking down, I see Usman being able to pick Mike Hamill apart on the feet. I see Mike Hamill going for a couple of takedowns, but Usman should be pretty strong. He is Khabib's brother. And I will say something, that he's the bigger guy here. So Mike Hamill has fought most of his career, if I'm not mistaken, at featherweight, 145 pounds. Usman Nurmagomedov is a career 155 pounder. He's a bigger guy. He's a big 155 pounder. He's a tall dude. He's tall, long, rangy. He's going to be able to pick Mike Hamill apart on the feet. When Mike Hamill does go for the takedowns, Mike Hamill may get one or two. I don't think he's going to be able to do much there. I cannot sleep on the wrestling of the Dagestani Usman, Khabib's brother, Nurmagomedov, right? That's what we should just call him, Usman, Khabib's brother, Nurmagomedov. But I think he's going to make a name for himself over the next few years. So I don't want to disrespect him like that. He's definitely his own man. And his style is completely different to Khabib. So we have to give him some respect there as well. You know, it's not just trying to be a carbon copy of his brother. So yeah, I see him picking apart Mike Hamill on the feet. And, you know, if Mike Hamill does get the takedowns, Usman, I was about to say Khabib, Usman should be able to either reverse it or just be defensively responsible. He's a strong dude. He's a bigger dude. He shouldn't find it too hard to get back to his feet and even get a couple of takedowns on his own against Mike Hamill. But I just basically see him keeping the fight on the feet and probably wearing Mike Hamill out, maybe getting a late TKO. I do think Mike Hamill's pretty durable, but again, we have seen him be armbarred out of nowhere when he was winning a fight. And we have seen him, although I didn't see the fight, seen him get knocked out in 30 seconds. So, you know, that's a cause for concern there. I was looking at the over 1.5 in this fight. There's no value on the money line. As I said, the line is off. If anything, take a stab on Mike Hamill, because I do believe that this is probably Usman's toughest test. And he's a minus 1,100 favorite. I just don't agree with it. So if you want to take a stab on Mike Hamill, go for it. I'm not going to take a stab on it. I think Usman's going to win the fight. Fairly confident Usman's going to win the fight. So I don't want to take a stab on it. But yeah, if you want to, if you do want to take a stab on it, nothing wrong with that. I was looking at the over 1.5 in this fight. It's like minus 125. I think you can get it evens for some places. I'm not sure if it's been bet up since the last time I saw it yesterday. But yeah, I was looking at the over 1.5. But Oh man, because I think Mike's tough, right? So I do think he can last. I think this fight could go to decision. I think Usman's been to decision like once, but his level of competition is not on a level, man. I do think that Usman could even win this fight via decision, right? But I don't know, man. Like it's hard for me to bet that because we have seen Mike get armbarred in round one, and it's a bit dodgy because he was winning the fight and then it just got armbarred out of nowhere. It can happen, but then we've also seen him get knocked out right in 30 seconds. So because we've seen that twice before, and he's had only 11 fights, and we've seen him get stopped in round one twice by fighters who they're not the best. I don't think they're on the level of Usman for sure. So it's just keeping me off the over 1.5. If they give me some plus money for it, maybe I would jump on. But, at favorite odds, minus 125, I don't know if I want to sweat that 1.5. It could look like a good bet. It could go 3 rounds with, because Usman, I will say, he's kind of a technical striker. And I will get off this fight in a minute. But Usman is a cerebral striker. Is like what I like to call a cerebral fighter, right? Someone who takes his time. He won't just rush in and bum rush him and go for the knockout. He won't do like a Francis Ngannou. It's not like back in an over 1.5 in an Ngannou fight. You're going to be sweating so much. Like Usman will take his time and be patient. But, I definitely can see him catch Mike Hamill with a head kick. As I said, he's the bigger man. He's the taller man. It's not going to take a lot for Usman to wrap his shin up top. And I think he can probably get Mike Hamill worrying about the leg kicks enough to distract him for a head kick, right? So, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be betting it myself, but I don't hate the play because I can kind of see this fight even going to decision. So, I'm going to take Usman and Magomedov for the win there. But as I say, the betting line's a little bit off, the money line anyway. Right, the next fight we have is Kana Watanabe versus Alejandra Lara. Alejandra Lara. Yeah, so this fight is interesting fight, guys. Interesting fight, interesting betting odds. So we've got Kana Watanabe coming in as an undefeated fighter. She's 9-0-1. She's got a draw, which is her only quote-unquote blemish on her record. Taking on Alejandra Lara, who is 9-3-0. So only 3 losses. So they both got 9 wins, only 3 losses between them. Decent level fight in the Bellator's women division. Alejandra Lara has got 3 losses, but she's only lost to high-level competition. High level for Bellator anyway. And high level for this women's flyweight division in general, I guess. So if we bring up Alejandra Lara's record here, we'll see who she's lost to. So her last loss was against Juliana Vasquez, right? And that was in a split decision. I don't agree with that split decision. I think Juliana Vasquez definitely deserved to win that. She landed the harder shots. Juliana Vasquez is champion now, guys. So she lost to a champion. Fight before that, she was in a title fight against Ilima-Lei Macfarlane, the current champion at the time. She lost to her. And she was doing decent in that fight, right? She from what I can remember when I taped this fight, she actually won. She took a round off Ilima-Lei Macfarlane for sure. And it was a close back and forth fight. She did manage to lose the fight via armbar in the 3rd round. But, I mean, that's another champion. And then, obviously, she lost here against Sabina Marzo. That was actually Sabina Marzo's debut. Not a great look there. But, Marzo's doing okay in the UFC. So she's a UFC fighter at the end of the day. She's lost to a UFC fighter and 2 Bellator champions. It's not terrible, right? Her skill set is decent. She kind of reminds me of Jocelyn Edwards. I don't know if any of you will know her. She's not a very well-known fighter, but she fights for the UFC. She's fought 2 times in the UFC now. I actually cashed on Jocelyn Edwards as a plus 150 underdog in her debut. And she kind of reminds me of this fighter. So they're both very tall for the weight class. They're both very long. They're both pretty physical. She reminds me a little bit of Juliana Vasquez, just a level below. And Juliana Vasquez is a very good fighter. So she'll come through with a lot of boxing combination. She's a Muay Thai striker, so she's got very, very good head kicks. That left head kick is beautiful, to be honest. That left body kick is beautiful. She hits that from southpaw stance. And when she's up close, she will throw a lot of elbows. It's always nice to see a fighter utilize elbows in their game. I've seen her hurt girls with them elbows. I've seen her hurt girls with head kicks. I've seen her hurt girls with body kicks. She's a dangerous striker, guys. If she can be on the outside she will pick you apart with the kicks. And then when she gets on the inside, she will come in with them nice elbows. And then she's obviously got straight punches down the pipe. So she's a good fighter. I do respect her skill set. And she's coming up against someone who is extremely unproven, but who I also kind of respect their skill set, but not as an MMA fighter, more as a grappler. So Kana Watanabe is a high-level judoka, right? And that's not really surprising because she's a Japanese fighter. We know judo is pretty big out there in Japan, right? And if you watch this girl's fights, she's not great on the feet, man. She needs to get the fight to the ground to win the fight, basically. And you can kind of see that by her record, right? So her last fight, she won via ground and pound. Last fight before that, rear naked choke. You know, they're both ground finishing moves, whatever you want to call them. And then, you know, her stoppage before that was punches from crucifix. She's got a couple of other arm bars on her record. So, you know, she's a ground fighter, right? She needs to get the fight to the ground. She definitely needs to get this fight and specifically to the ground, because if not, she's getting pieced up on the feet. She actually opened, I believe she may have opened as a favorite or like a slight dog, right? So look at her record, guys, right here. Look at who she's been winning against. So look, I will say when she's fought for Ryzen, she's fought quote unquote decent level of competition, but even some of the fighters she's fought, their records have to be called into question. So on her second fight, she fought a 15-4 fighter. That's admirable, right? And then on her, what is this, like her sixth fight or her fifth fight, she fought a 16-5 fighter. And then in her last fight, she fought a 9-4 fighter. But other than that, guys, she's fighting an 0-0 fighter, 3-2, 3-2, 0-0, 0-0, 1-0, 0-0. So it's not a great level of competition. And in her last fight, when she fought someone who was at least respectable in the MMA game, who we know a little bit, in Bellator, Lara Joanne, I don't know how you say her name, she was getting pieced up in that fight, right? She was losing that fight, but she managed to win via ground and pound in round 3. Round 3, she dominated. She got the fight to the ground, and she did dominate on the ground. I have to give her that. When she's in top position, she is dominate. She is dominant, right? She's got a stoppage win here on Tapology via punches from crucifix. So I mean, you know, she is a dominant fighter. You shouldn't really be getting stopped from crucifix if you're an MMA fighter, really. But look, if you see how she implements it, it's pretty strong, right? It's pretty solid. It's kind of like how Montserrat Ruiz does her head and arm throw. We saw that the other week, right? But at the end of the day, she shouldn't be stopped. I don't expect Alejandra Lara to get stopped via crucifix here, right? But I just sprung that up to say that she has got some slick skills on the ground. She's a high-level judoka. She may have went to the Olympics or something. I don't know, but she's got a lot of credentials in judo. I can't remember exactly what the commentary team was saying when I was listening to her fights, when I was researching this fight, but she's good on the ground, guys. So look, this fight is real simple, man. I mean, if she's able to get the fight on the ground, she will win, right? But if she isn't, she's going to get pieced up badly. Now, the thing about it is that Alejandra Lara, as I mentioned, she likes to spam kicks. If she does that, she's obviously going to give Kana Watanabe her best chance to get the fight to the ground, you know, by catching a kick. But, man, even if she just abandons a lot of the kicks, you know, throws them every now and then, and just sticks to the boxing, I think she can win this fight. Lara isn't terrible on the ground, man. I've seen her go, you know, in a lot of grappling transitions with Alima McFarlane, who's a good grappler. And, you know, she was able to, at times, reverse Alima. She was able to stay defensively responsible for, you know, a couple of rounds. She was able to get on top of Alima Lay. She's going to be the taller fighter here. I know it's only 5'7" versus 5'6", but she does have a 3-inch reach advantage. I think that just in general, she's the more imposing figure. I do think Kana is a very, very strong, compact fighter. She kind of reminds me of Jin Yu Frey in that regard. But I don't know, man. I feel like Alejandra's probably going to be able to keep this fight on the feet and just pick Kana Watanabe, pick her apart from range. You know, she's fought at a much higher level. Yeah, I'm going to take Lara for the win here. I don't hate a bet on her. She's like -170 right now. It's a good price, in my opinion. She probably should be a little bit of a bigger favorite just in regards to her clear what are we going to say? Her clear advantage on the feet and also her level of competition. I think them two things combined, you could probably put her in that minus 233 range, right? So I'm going to take Lara for the win there, probably by decision. But man, from what I've seen from Lara's head kicks, I wouldn't even be surprised if later on in the fight she just head kicks Kana and takes her out of there, you know. But obviously, women's fight flyweight, I'm going to take Lara by decision. And Brandon McDonald's, thanks for commenting, bro. He's saying Lara has only lost to the best of the best in Bellator. Yeah, exactly. So I mentioned it, you know, when I just started breaking this fight down. She's lost to Alima Lay McFarlane, who was the champion at the time and Bellator's last champion. And she's lost to Juliana Vasquez in a split decision, which shouldn't have been a split. Juliana should have won that unanimously. But she still was in there. She made it close enough as to where at least one judge saw it for her. So she lost to Juliana Vasquez as well, the only two people she's lost to in Bellator. And Juliana Vasquez is currently champion. You know, she just pieced Alima Lay McFarlane up. So, yeah, she's lost to the best of the best. And she did lose to Sabina Marzo in like her full fight. Sabina Marzo is not the worst fighter of all time. You know, she is in the UFC now, so it's not too much wrong with that. So, yeah, I'm going to take Lara for the win there, guys. The next fight we got. I'm excited for this one, man. This co-main and main, absolute bangers of fights. We got Neiman Gracie taking on Jason Jackson. Neiman Gracie's a serious fighter, guys. You know, a lot of these Gracies get hate because they can never live up to the Gracie name, right? I mean, Royce Gracie, Rickson Gracie. Legend, absolute legend. I got Rickson right up there. Top. I don't know if you can see right there. You probably can't see fuck all. Let me just bring this big. You probably can't see. Can you see Rickson up there? He's doing his breathing in technique. I love Rickson Gracie, man. If any of you haven't watched the documentary Choke, you guys better go and watch that right now. You're going to learn something not only about MMA and the sport of combat sports and the Gracie family, but you're going to learn something about life as well. But anyway, I digress. Yeah. So a lot of these Gracies get hate, right? Crone Gracie, Comrie Gracie, whoever Gracie, right? A lot of these Gracies get hate because they can never live up to the name, right? But at the end of the day, they're still doing their thing and fucking earning money professionally, fighting in a cage, man. So you got to give them a little bit of respect. But Neiman Gracie is he's one of the good ones, right? He's one of the good Gracies. He's definitely a good fighter, man. He's only ever lost once to Rory McDonald in a title fight. That he had Rory in some precarious positions in that fight. You know, he wasn't completely blown out of the water. It did go to decision. He wasn't really hurt in that fight. He just got outpointed by the veteran at this point in Rory McDonald, right? Jason Jackson, on the other hand, he's on a bit of a resurgence, 3-fight winning streak. He's definitely upped his game in the last few years. He's 30 years of age, coming into his prime now. He's a solid fighter. We saw him beat Benson Henderson, or the shell of Benson Henderson, in his last fight with absolute ease. Hurt Benson in that fight, picked him apart on the feet, was able to defend the takedowns of Benson. He looked like an improved version of himself, Jason Jackson, and he has done in the last couple of years, if I have to be honest. So Jason Jackson, I believe he may have opened as a favorite. Then he got bet down badly. And at the time of Tapology putting up their betting odds, he was a plus 135 underdog. He's not that anymore. So he is, I believe he's a pick'em right now, right? And I don't think I've seen anyone on Neiman Gracie. I don't think I've ever seen anyone on Neiman Gracie. I think most people are on Jason Jackson. And we'll check the Tapology, rankings, see what people are voting for. But you can't really go on them because I don't know who votes on Tapology, but a lot of times they've got no idea. I remember last week, right, in the UFC, Tapology, right, the Tapology voters were voting like 90% for Azatar to beat Barrios, which is hilarious. So I don't really take much away from. I don't know who the fuck's voting on Tapology. I mean, a lot of times they seem like they haven't got a clue. But look, if I just bring up the betting lines for Bellator 255 on the weekend, I'll bring up the Neiman Gracie betting line. Right, where are we? Neiman, yeah. So I mean, you can get Neiman Gracie as a plus money on a lot of books. So Jason Jackson's the favorite right now. And where did he open up? Because I am curious to see this. I think he may have opened up as a favorite. Yeah, so the books opened him up as a minus 185 favorite. Didn't take long for that to get bet up. You know, it took a day for that to get bet up to like a plus 135, and you can actually get him for plus 145 at one point, which is, and they actually went up to plus 150. Now, look, I'll just break this down pretty simply because it is kind of rudimentary, right? If Neiman Gracie gets the fight on the ground, Neiman Gracie wins. Neiman Gracie probably taps out Jason Jackson. Very, very high level on the ground. If you're not surprised by that, being a Gracie, he's very high level on the ground. He's not only high level from top position, he's obviously high level from his guard as well. I've seen him tap people from his guard. He tapped Ed Roof from his guard, but Ed Roof was completely gassed in that fight. The grappling transitions in that fight. If you love BJJ, if you love wrestling, if you love BJJ versus wrestling, if you love grappling, MMA grappling in general, watch Neiman Gracie versus Ed Roof. The transitions in that fight are absolutely beautiful to watch. It's as beautiful as a stand-up back and forth war, in my opinion. But yeah, Neiman Gracie was able to get the 4th round stoppage there. But that's because Ed Roof kind of gassed. I'd say if Ed Roof had the same gas for all 5 rounds, probably would have went to decision. But that's a stupid concept, right? If he had the gas he didn't have the gas. Neiman Gracie wore on him. So it doesn't really make sense saying that. But, you know, it wasn't necessarily a skill set reason why Gracie tapped him out. Obviously, he's higher level on the ground, but Ed Roof is proficient enough to stop the submissions. But the reason I say this is because Jason Jackson is not, okay? Jason Jackson is not proficient enough to stop the takedowns. To stop the submission attempts. Now, look, is he going to get subbed on the first ever submission attempt by Neiman Gracie? Okay, maybe no. If this fight gets to the ground, Jason Jackson bettors are going to be worried. I will tell you that now. Neiman Gracie is super live to get the submission in this fight. And to be honest, if he gets the fight to the ground, Jason Jackson probably ain't getting up. Now, obviously, he's an athletic guy. He can pop up to his feet. But I think it's likely that if the fight gets to the ground, if Neiman Gracie is actually able to get top control for like 10 seconds, the round is probably over, right? Neiman Gracie will probably keep him on the ground for the whole round. Like, obviously, if he gets a takedown, Jason Jackson is obviously super live to instantly get back up. You know, if he puts his arm out, he can bridge on his forearm and jump back up. I'm not talking about that. Obviously, that's not really a takedown. What I'm talking about is if Neiman Gracie gets a solid takedown and is able to establish a dominant position, you know, for just 5 seconds, then Jason Jackson probably won't be able to get up, right? I'm not saying that if he gets taken down, he won't be able to get up straight away, because that's different. You have to clarify. There's 2 different scenarios, right? Neiman Gracie, if he gets top control for a couple of seconds or, 5-10 seconds, he probably will be able to get top control for 4-5 minutes. That's what I'm saying, right? But Jason Jackson is definitely live to get taken down, but able to explode back up straight away because he's a very athletic guy and he's a very strong guy, right? So it really comes down to that, whether Neiman can get 5 to 10 seconds of top control in order to get the rest of the round of top control. I do think Neiman and Brandon McDonald's is popping up right now saying something I was just going to address, right? This is quite funny. So Brandon McDonald is saying, how is Neiman's wrestling? I know Jackson has some decent takedown defense. Yeah, so Neiman's wrestling is pretty good, right? Like Neiman, he's not just completely a jiu-jitsu fighter. He was able to take down Rory a couple of times. Rory definitely stuffed a lot of takedowns, but he didn't stuff them all. He was able to take down Rory a couple of times. And, he is the quintessential jiu-jitsu player where he will just pull guard if shit's not working. He will roll for leg locks, which he's pretty good at, actually. He's good at rolling for leg locks and then turning them into a takedown of his own. He will do that. But in regards to just pure wrestling, he's not bad. I've seen him take down Ed Roof, who, you wouldn't have thought Neiman Gracie would be able to take down Ed Roof, right? Ed Roof is a very high-level wrestler, one of the highest levels of wrestlers in Bellator, like Tyrell Fortune. If you watch that fight, Big John McCarthy is commentating as he does for Bellator, and he says Neiman Gracie's not going to be able to take Ed Roof down. So Neiman is going to need to be able to, pull guard, right, or hurt Jackson, hurt Ed Roof and then get taken down, or going to have to work from his guard when Ed Roof takes him down. You know, he says that, and like a couple of minutes later, Ed Roof shoots a beautiful blast double timed under one of Jackson's strikes and takes him down and lands in top position. Ed Roof actually does reverse it because he's so athletic. He rolls with it and gets up. But, I mean, he's still got the takedown. So Neiman's wrestling isn't bad. It's not super high level, okay? But it's not bad. And, look, I do expect him to be able to land a couple of takedowns on Jason Jackson here. Jason Jackson, let's talk about him for a second, right? Jason Jackson is, you know, throughout his whole career, he was plagued with the takedowns, right? He's always been a good striker, and his strikers come on leaps and bounds in the last few years even, but he's always been a good striker. What's really improved recently is his takedown defense and ability to get up from the feet and just not get taken down in general, right? But throughout his whole career, he was plagued with being half easy to get taken down, and then when he got taken down, he wasn't good off his back, guys. You know, he looked, dare I say, terrible off his back. But he's definitely improved in recent times. But that's still there, right? Like, you're never going to improve enough to be able to stop Neiman Gracie from tapping you out. Now, he may be able to stop him once or twice. It's not just like instantly get down, instantly subbed, right? I mean, this is a fight. Anything can happen. But at the end of the day, no matter how many improvements he's made, it's not enough to stop Neiman Gracie from subbing him if Neiman's able to, you know, do a couple of sub attempts. So if I just go down to his stint on the Ultimate Fighter against Mike Graves, right? He got taken down in that fight. So he was dominating Mike Graves. And Mike Graves is a solid wrestler. For those of you who don't know Mike Graves, there's nothing wrong with being taken down by Mike Graves, man. He'll take down most. So, yeah, Jason Jackson was dominating Mike Graves, right? And I understand this was early in his career, but this is the narrative I'm portraying for you, right? That's why I'm going early in his career, because I've said he's improved since then. So if you go back to the Graves fight, he's dominating Graves. He smashes Graves to bits on the feet. He almost has Graves out of there. Graves is an undefeated fighter at the time. He almost has Graves out of there. Graves is out on his feet. At one point, Graves curls up against the side of the fence. Looks like he does not want to fight anymore, okay? The people in the Ultimate Fighter house, you know, in that small room, are basically calling for the fight to be stopped. People are screaming. It's a hostile atmosphere. Graves is basically done. Somehow, Graves survives. The ref doesn't stop it. I guess it turns out to be a good stoppage because of, you know, what happens, and you can see what happens here. Mike Graves wins via rear naked choke. But I wouldn't have questioned the stoppage if Mike Graves did get stopped here, right? Anyway, he doesn't. Mike Graves able to get the takedown, and I guess Jackson is gassed from beating the fuck out of Graves, but also Graves is way higher level on the ground. It doesn't take long for a concussed and almost knocked out Graves to get that rear naked choke, right? So he's always had trouble being taken down. Even if you go to his other fights, some of the fights that he's won, he's got taken down in them. In this Emerson Souza fight, this was mostly a stand-up fight. I could only see the highlights for this, but I did see a couple of takedowns from Souza there. And then obviously Ed Roof got taken down in that fight. But that's Ed Roof, so it is what it is. But, you know, throughout his career, he's been plagued with the takedowns. So it's not great coming up against someone like Neiman Gracie that is going to probably, you know, I mean, definitely go for takedowns. I do expect Jason Jackson to be able to defend some, but I probably expect him to be taken down at least once. Neiman Gracie's kind of relentless. I will say that the 3 rounds nature of this fight, or the fight being 3 rounds, heavily, in my opinion, it's a heavy advantage for Jason Jackson, because Neiman Gracie needs takedowns. He needs time for takedowns. Jason Jackson doesn't need time to piece up Gracie on the feet. You know, Gracie's not the worst on the feet, you know. I've been talking a lot about his wrestling and his jiu-jitsu, but he's not the worst of all time on the feet. I mean, he was able to stand with Rory McDonald, with Ed Roof. Now, he's nowhere near as good as Jason Jackson, but he's not just going to get knocked out, I don't believe, on the feet. I mean, he might get knocked out at some point. I don't think he's just going to get knocked out instantly. So he will be able to hang on the feet for a little bit. But this is where the fight is an advantage for Jason Jackson. So Jason Jackson, it won't take much for him to do damage on the feet, right? It's easy. He'll throw a couple of kicks, throw a couple of punches, and do damage. With Gracie, how many takedowns is he going to get? He's going to need to be relentless with them takedowns, right? And he might not get the first one. He might not get the second one. He might not get the third one. So if he's consistently going for takedowns and not getting them, then, I do think we can see Jason Jackson just win the fight just on the output on the feet, because he's going to be doing clear damage, whereas Gracie won't be doing clear damage if he won't be able to get the takedowns. Now, I do think Gracie will be able to get a takedown or two. And if he does get the takedown, he'll probably be able to win the round. It depends when he gets a takedown. If he gets a takedown with a minute left after being pieced up on the feet, they'll give Jackson a round. So it's a pretty hard, and is a minute enough for Gracie to get a submission off? Maybe, maybe not. I do give a lot of credence into Jackson's improved takedown defense and probable improved sub defense. So, it's a hard one to break down. Basically, I think this is a 50-50 fight. I think the line is accurate as fuck. I writ down on my notes when I taped this quite a while back, like 4 or 5 days ago. I writ down, before the betting odds were released, right? I writ down, if anyone is plus 150, I'll bet it. Because plus 150 is an implied probability of a 40% chance of that event happening. So if the bookies are telling me that either one of these fighters has a 40% chance of winning the fight, I'm saying wrong. They have a 50% chance of winning the fight. That equals a 10% edge on the bookies. I'm betting it. But unfortunately, they never got there. Now, I think, obviously, when it was opened on Bet Online, Gracie was a plus 150 or plus 160 dog. And then at one point, Jackson did go to plus 150. I just wasn't, I didn't notice it when it went there. Guys, when the line went to plus 150, it would have went for a couple of hours. These lines don't stay around for long. So I don't know. Maybe I was sleeping for them hours. Maybe I was eating my dinner. Maybe I was doing something else. Like, who knows, right? But I didn't see them lines, so I could never bet that. The best line I ever saw was Jason Jackson plus 125. It's not enough for me to pull the trigger. Now, I did look at Gracie inside the distance, right? Because I do think that he's super live for a sub. And shout out to Knockout Opinion, one of the guys I interact with on Twitter a lot. I like Knockout Opinion. He's got a very good mind for the game. Everyone go follow him on Twitter. He's saying the whole world seems to be betting Jackson. Yep. Maybe we should go the other way, but doesn't always work out. He's saying Gracie inside the distance, and that's why I brought up his comment, because that's what I'm mentioning now. He's saying Gracie inside the distance is plus 160. I guess that will be the same as the prop line. Yeah, probably like what, plus 170 for the prop line or something like that for the sub prop. So yeah, I want to bet plus 150 straight, right? So I don't think there's much value in plus 160 inside the distance, because I do think that Gracie can definitely win a decision. As I said, if he gets the fight to the ground, he probably, and gets top control for 5-10 seconds. I do want to make that clear. It's not just it hits the ground for a second and then he's fine. He has to get top control for a while. I know I keep beating a dead horse, but I really do want to get that across because it's important. But yeah, I wanted to bet a plus 150 either side. So I do think Neiman can win the fight via decision. So I don't really want to bet the inside the distance prop at plus 160, which is kind of the line I wanted just for a straight money line, So in that regard, I don't think there's too much value, but I can definitely see Neiman subbing him. So that's what it is, guys. 50-50 fight. I've spoke a lot about both sides. Probably spoke more about the Neiman sub side, but maybe that's just because the whole world's on Jackson, so I'm trying to give the other side of the story. But yeah, look, I see this fight as a 50-50 fight, guys. Super rudimentary. I can't call a winner because I'm saying it's 50-50. That means I don't know the winner, right? But I guess just for the sake of pure predictions, I'll say Neiman Gracie wins, right? I don't know whether he subs him or he gets a decision, but I guess everyone's on Jackson, so I'm just going to say Neiman, but I think the fight's a 50-50. Brandon McDonald is saying, I like Gracie for the sub as well, but I see some sharps on Jackson. Man, hell of a lot of sharp people on Jackson. I completely understand why. It's so obvious. His path to victory is so obvious. Let me tell you something else. Neiman Gracie's path to victory is so obvious. 50-50 fight. Go with your own gut feeling, or go with your own analysis, right? whoever wins this fight is going to look dominant in doing so. You know, it's one of them fights. It's a takedown. It's a BJJ fighter versus a striker. That means, just that alone means whoever wins this fight is going to look dominant, right? That's what it means. If a jiu-jitsu fighter, pure jiu-jitsu, and he kind of is, obviously he's all-around MMA, but you know what I mean, versus a pure striker, basically is whoever wins that fight is going to look dominant, is going to look like a value bet, right? But I just feel like it's 50-50, man. I think 50% of the time, I think these guys fight 100 times. I really think they win 50 times each. Brandon McDonald's saying, thinking about just betting the money line on Gracie as well. Go for it, bro. Good luck if you do. Yeah, I do think he's definitely live for a decision as well. As I say, all he needs is takedown to win the round and 10 seconds of top control to win the round, right? So if he does that twice but isn't able to get the sub, you're going to be kicking yourself for betting inside the distance, you know, especially at plus 150. It's not crazy. But we'll see where the line moves. You never know. There could be some late action. A lot of people are on Jackson, so, you know, it could be getting bet down, but I'm not going to see that plus 150 anymore. If I see plus 200 for a sub, jumping on that, but I doubt I'm going to see it. I may see plus 175, and then you never know. You never know. It could get there. Like I might see plus 175 for the sub on Gracie, and then if, you know, if people are betting Jackson's money line, you know, that sub prop might go up to like plus 190, plus 200. You never know. I'm looking at it, but what's Jackson's decision? Because Gracie's tough as fuck. Jackson hits hard though, but it's only 3 rounds. Let's check Jackson's decision. It's 50-50 fight in my eyes, guys. So we have to look at all avenues for profit, right? Let's check Jackson's decision. Let's just check all the prop lines, right? Fight goes to decision plus 130. That's not bad, you know, because as I say, I can see both of them. Fucking winning the decision. But as I say, Jackson, Gracie, super live for the submission. Yeah, Gracie wins by submission. Is currently out on Bet Online at plus 175. As I said, plus 175. Look, if Jackson keeps getting some steam, that plus 175 could turn into a plus 200. That could be a line there. I don't know if you can see where I am. I hope you can. But basically, I'm looking here. Gracie wins by the submission, plus 175. What else we got? We got Gracie wins inside distance, plus 150. Jackson wins by decision, plus 230 and plus 150. So that'll probably settle around plus 175, I would assume. Gracie wins by decision, plus 500. Yeah? Think you might just call a bet, guys. Look, I completely understand, right, why Gracie decision is like it's a contrary take, right? Especially with the judging, how the judges are judging fights now. If Gracie gets top control for 3 minutes, right, but Jackson is able to do a couple of, you know, solid punches or kicks, he'll probably win the round. But what if he's level on the feet for a couple of minutes, and then Gracie gets the fight to the ground? You know, they'll probably give that round to Gracie. It's 3 rounds. He only needs to win 2 rounds. Gracie, mate, I don't know if Gracie's going anywhere. Jackson wins inside the distance is plus 285, but his decision is plus 150 or plus 230, depending on where you look. It's quite a big discrepancy, right? I don't know, man. So we're getting plus 130 for the fight to go to decision, but we're getting plus 600 or plus 500 for Gracie to win by decision. I mean, I don't agree with that. I'm probably going to I'm taking a small flyer on that. You've got a bet from me right here. Gracie to win by decision. Do I think it's going to happen? Not really. I've just given you the last 15 minutes telling you how likely it is Gracie gets a submission if the fight goes to the ground, and how likely it is that Jackson is able to win a decision if he's able to stop the takedowns. So, you know, I'm just basically saying that it's not going to happen. But, mate, plus 600. I mean, come on. Plus 665 in 5 dimes. And I've got access to 5 dimes. So, Gracie by decision. Let's go, man. That's what I'm betting on. I'm actually quite happy to see that line, as you can tell, because I did not think it would be that crazy. It's not out of the realm of possibility that happens, guys. So, I mean, I'll move on now. I'll go to the next... Go to the next fight. But yeah, I believe I'm going to bet that. So my prediction is Gracie to win via decision. Okay, that's my prediction. And that's my bet as well. All right, Brandon McDonald is saying, what book do you use? He's just signed up for Bovada, but there's no props up yet. So yeah, I use a couple of books. I use 5 Dimes. I use William Hill. I use Bet365. They're the main ones I use. Bovada, I've not used that before. I think I had access to it once upon a time, I believe. Maybe, but no, I don't use them, so I'm not sure about their prop lines. But what you can do is you go to bestfightodds.com. That was the website I just showed you. I'll bring it up here. And then on the side, on the right-hand side, I hope you can see where my cursor is. It's like on the right-hand side. I'm moving it now. It says props, right? And basically, it will tell you how many props are out for each fight. So in regards to the Jason Jackson versus Neiman Gracie fight, there's 34 prop odds out. And you just click the drop-down menu here. And then obviously all the bookmakers are up the top here. I hope you can see this. All the bookmakers are up the top here. And it tells you what bookmakers have prop odds out. So yeah, if I go to Bovada, which is right here. I hope you can see this. Otherwise, it would be stupid. Yeah, there's no prop odds out for Bovada. But if you see Bet Online, there's prop odds for like almost every, they've even got prop odds for Gracie wins via submission in round 3 and stuff. And then 5 Dimes is what I've got access to, which is the first one here. And I've got a couple of prop odds out. I have got that Gracie by decision, so I will play that. So if you've got access to 5 Dimes, use that. They've got props. If you've got access to Bet Online, use that. They're the best bet. They're the best MMA bookmaker, in my opinion. So yeah, man, just really depends on where you live. Shout out to Z's MMA. He's saying, hit the like button, folks. This is great content. Thank you for that. Please hit the like button. It definitely helps the video a ton. Even if you're watching this on a replay, definitely hit the like button. Brandon saying, got ya. I appreciate the help. Might tail ya on that Gracie decision. Yeah. Don't be putting your whole bankroll on it. I won't be putting even 1 unit on it. I'll probably go like half a unit or something. It's just a line that is off, in my opinion. Not necessarily that I think is going to happen. But, the more I talk about it, the more I'm convincing myself it's going to happen. That's what happens with gamblers. Confirmation bias. You think something's going to happen, and then everything tells you it's going to happen. So you have to be, you have to be smart. But anyway, this is the big one, man. Patricio Pitbull versus Emmanuel Sanchez. This is a banger of a fight. Man, look, this is my favorite fight on the card for sure. It's got the best spot, which is the main event spot. I'm glad this is main event, and obviously it would be main event. What a fight we have. A rematch. Both veterans of the game at this point. Patricio Pitbull coming in with a 31-4 record. Emmanuel Sanchez coming in with a 20-4 record. They're both similar ages. Patricio Pitbull's a little bit older, 33, probably nearing the end of his prime. Emmanuel Sanchez coming into his prime, probably peak prime for Sanchez, 30 years of age. They're both featherweights. Sanchez has quite a lot of height and reach on him. Sanchez has a 3-inch height advantage at 5'9" to 5'6". Sanchez has a 5 or a 4.5-inch reach advantage at 70-inch to 65.5-inch reach advantage. This is a rematch of a fight that happened about 3 years ago, which was a pretty close fight. It was a fairly close fight. It was a very close fight, really. It was 2-2 going into the 5th round. And, I believe it may have been a 2-2 on all judges' scorecards going into the 5th round. And Patricio Pitbull hurt Sanchez badly in that last round because his power carries through to all rounds. And, he hurt Sanchez badly with, in his boxing stance with some punches. And he was able to control Sanchez on the floor for most of the rest of that round. And he was able to get a clear win in that 5th round. And I believe he got a 10-8 round on one judge's scorecard. I don't know what judge scored that, and I don't know what round that was. It may have been the last round, but there was another round where Pitbull hurt Sanchez. So I'm assuming it was that one, actually, because it's like the 2nd or 3rd round he hurt Sanchez pretty badly. I thought he could get him out of there. Maybe that was the last round. I got bad memory, guys. I watched this fight a couple of days ago. But anyway, Pitbull hurt Sanchez, a couple of times in that fight. And that's no easy task. Sanchez has a beard. He has a solid chin. He is not hard to hurt. But Pitbull has grenades in his hand, right? We saw him starch Michael Chandler in about a minute. We see him destroy Pedro Carvalho in about 2 minutes in his last fight. He's got immense power, and he was able to hurt Sanchez a couple of times in that fight. And that basically what won him the fight, guys. Pitbull's power won him that fight, because if he wasn't able to hurt Sanchez probably wouldn't have won the fight on volume. Now, there is another argument to say that maybe Pitbull won it because he was able to control Sanchez in the grappling for a couple of times, which he was able to do. But yeah, man, this fight's a great fight. They both had 3 fights since then. They both have looked as dominant as ever since then. And when I say since then, I mean since their first fight. Emmanuel Sanchez last time out dominated a previous opponent he fought, Daniel Whitechaw. I believe that was his last fight. And then obviously Patricio Pitbull got that solid knockout over Pedro Carvalho, who's a tough guy in himself. So this fight, man, first of all, I want to say that the line is off for this fight, right? They, at one point, as you can see here, Emmanuel Sanchez was a plus 250 underdog. And I was going to bet Sanchez as a plus 250 underdog. But for some reason, I just thought that Patricio Pitbull has so much hype these days, especially because he knocked out Michael Chandler. A lot of people are talking his name. He was a double weight world champion, and Pitbull, Henry Cejudo is always talking about how Pitbull is better than him and he's the one he looks up to. So basically, I thought that people would be throwing Pitbull in parlays, and I thought that Sanchez would get even wider than plus 250. But when I woke up, right, it was plus 215. And I was like, no, I've missed the boat. I could have bet him at plus 250. And, the cat's out of the bag. I was going to bet him, as I say. If we go back on the line now, yeah, plus 215 is the best you're getting. So he's actually being bet down even more since I bet him at plus 215. He's plus 205, plus 200, plus 195. He's plus 185 in one book, which I think at plus 185, you're kind of not really getting much value on that line now, because I do have to lean Patricio just because of how high level he is. But basically, the way I see this fight breaking down is virtually the same as the first fight. I don't think much is different. I mean, these guys were veterans at that time. These guys are still veterans. I don't think much has changed, right? I feel like this is anyone's fight, but I definitely lean Pitbull. I think Pitbull wins this fight 60% of the time. I think Emmanuel Sanchez has definitely got the volume upside. I mean, he definitely has the volume upside, but Patricio Pitbull is always live to hurt him. So if you bet on Sanchez, which I have bet on Sanchez, you're always going to worry, because Patricio only needs to land once. Now, Sanchez has got a solid chin. I don't think he's going to get stopped, but we've seen him wobble multiple times against Pitbull in that first fight. It's hard to say he's not going to be able to do it again, and he probably is going to do it again at least once or twice, Patricio is super dangerous in them first rounds as well, so I wouldn't be hugely surprised if he was able to get Sanchez out of there in that first round. But it's funny, it's ironic, because if you go back to the first fight, Sanchez hurt Pitbull in that first round, So this is a close fight, man. Both of these guys' skill sets match up closely. The stylistic matchup of these fighters match up closely. Pitbull seemed to be able to control Sanchez in the grappling realm when the fight went to the ground in the first fight. But it's just still dangerous going down to the ground in Sanchez's guard, because Sanchez is a high-level BJJ practitioner, probably one of the highest-level BJJ practitioners in the featherweight division in Bellator. I really do rate his jiu-jitsu, especially in guard. He's pretty solid as well. But Pitbull was able to control him fairly easily. So, that's definitely saying something about Pitbull. But, he's a Brazilian dude. All of them guys are pretty good at jiu-jitsu. So, yeah, I feel like Sanchez is going to be, the one out-voluming him, and probably the one coming even harder in the later rounds. Sanchez is one of these fighters that, his El Matador is his nickname. He's one of these fighters that come forward consistently, like he might be gassed, but it does not matter. He's still going to throw 100 strikes, He's still going to throw 100 strikes, 50 strikes, significant strikes in one round. But Patricio, he doesn't fight like that. He takes time off. Patricio is a lot smaller. He's a lot more compact. He has a lot more power. So he takes minutes off. It looked like he even might have took the fourth round off, the whole round, right, to save himself for that fifth round. I mean, who knows? If he did, it worked, and he's a veteran, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did that, because, he almost did nothing in that fourth round, right? But in the fifth round, he almost stopped Sanchez. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he did that. We've seen fighters do that before. It's kind of a common thing, taking the third round off in a 5-round fight, but it seemed like Patricio might have done that in the fourth round. yeah, I mean, I'm pretty confident in saying that he definitely could have done that. But anyway, Patricio, he takes a couple of minutes off, right? But Sanchez doesn't do that. So Sanchez is always going to be out voluming him in here, right? So even that alone is a decent bet on Sanchez, because Sanchez is very unlikely he's going to get stopped, although I definitely could see it, especially from Pitbull. Very unlikely to get stopped. But at the same time, he's always going to be out. He's going to out volume Pitbull, and he's unlikely to get stopped. So just that alone is probably worth more than the plus 250 he was, and probably the plus 215 that I got in at. Look, man, I feel like Pitbull is going to be able to land them bombs. Sanchez isn't greatly defensive in the boxing range. Pitbull is beautiful at boxing. He's got them beautiful hooks, them short hooks. He tucks them in well. I do think he's going to be able to hurt Sanchez a couple of times. And look, I don't see this fight different to much different than the first fight. I feel like Sanchez is going to be coming on strong throughout the whole fight, but I do feel like Pitbull is going to land heavy shots. And if he does get to the ground, he probably will be able to control him in Sanchez's guard. So I lean Pitbull 60-40. So I do feel like there's probably some value on the money line, depending on where you bet. I did jump in at plus 215. And look, just for the sake of the prediction and because of my bet, I'm going to go with Emmanuel Sanchez to win via decision here. It's kind of weird. I know maybe I'm going against what I say, because I said I lean Pitbull 60-40, which basically means that Emmanuel... It basically means that I'm saying Pitbull's going to win this fight. But I don't know. I'm just saying that this is one of the 40% of the time that Sanchez wins, okay? Maybe it's just because of my bet, but it is what it is. I'm going to go with Emmanuel Sanchez to win this fight, to shock the world. Not to shock us, though. Not to shock the people who do their due diligence, but basically to shock the world and become the featherweight champion. Become the Bellator featherweight champion and advance to the semifinals or the finals of the Bellator featherweight Grand Prix. This is a great fight, guys. Don't miss it. This card is solid. Even though we've got some fights that are not very competitive, like the Magomedov fight, they're showcase fights. It's still exciting to watch Magomedov perform, even if he's fighting quote unquote bum, right? It's exciting to see that level of talent in the octagon, or in the Bellator cage. So yeah, don't miss this card. It's a banger of a card. And don't miss this fight, man. Even if you want to miss all the other fights, watch the Gracie and Jackson fight and watch the Pitbull and Sanchez fight. I can't wait for this fight. Sanchez is saying, no, Z is saying that Sanchez closed the evens last fight. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And it looked like kind of an evens fight. You know, maybe Sanchez should have been a plus 150 there. And I believe he probably should be about plus 150 here too, you know? So yeah. So anything above plus 175, not bad value. Plus 180, not bad value. But yeah, you really want that plus 200. You know, you want to go into the 200s because you still can get it at most books. And yeah, I feel like that's definitely a good bet. You know, I've only put a little bit on it. I've got a half of a unit on it. It's not much, but I mean, I'm happy to have some money riding on Sanchez here because he's going to fight for my money, and I definitely could see him winning it. And I'm predicting him to win the fight. So there we go. That's the breakdown for the main card of Bellator 255. I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, I've got multiple bets on this. You know, you've heard a couple of them, but you haven't heard my main bets. Actually, my main bets are on the prelims. If you want all my bets, you can sign up via lucrativemmabetting.com. I'm third-party tracked on betmma.tips. Cannot fake my record. Other than that, hit me up on Instagram, Twitter, very accessible. And I can't wait for this card, man. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And I will see you in the next video.